Hello everyone, this is Pallavi and you are watching Indian Masterminds. I am here with a very special guest. For many people, there is no bigger blessing than to serve the nation. It is a job of immense satisfaction and pride. The guest we have with us today grew up with this dream in his heart. So after passing the 12th class, he attempted NDA and got selected. However, this was not his destiny and he has to give it up due to medical reasons. He didn't stop there and attempted for UPSC. And in 2017, he got selected by securing AIR 53. Currently, he is serving as CEO Zila Parishad Thane and contributing in development of our nation. So, in this video, we'll discuss about Mr. Manuj Jindal's journey and his strategy and preparation for UPSC. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Pallavi.
So, I would like to ask you this first. After you couldn't complete your training as an NDA cadet, so how did you decide that you should, go for UPSC now?
So I will be very honest about this. I did not decide after I finished my National Defense Academy. I mean, I was not able to go through the entire training. So after I left the National Defense Academy, after that, I did not think of joining the civil services. It was not something that was in my mind at that time. In fact, at that time, I was kind of confused, a little bit, not sure about what to do, because obviously when something you dream of in your entire life, because I was dreaming of joining the armed forces, but that does not uh, happen in reality. Because of medical reasons, you have to leave the National Defense Academy. So because of that, I had to rethink my entire life, in the sense that what to do ahead. So the natural thing was obviously to finish college, because National Defense Academy, there you get your bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
Since I had just passed out of my class 12th, so I had to finish my graduation, and for that I started thinking of applying for colleges in India, in Delhi, in other places. And I also, that time, one of my seniors was actually studying abroad. He was studying in the US, and he advised me that I should also apply to various universities in the US with a scholarship. So I went ahead, and I think I was lucky at that time. I applied and I was able to get a scholarship, full scholarship, in University of Virginia. So I went to University of Virginia to finish my undergraduate studies. Even after that, I worked for a few years, a couple of years, and I worked in Barclays. And after that, I decided to come back to India and pursue something here. And as it happens, my younger brother was appearing for civil services at that time. I saw the syllabus, I looked at him, he was studying for it, and I decided, okay, this sounds like a very interesting career opportunity. I talked to looked at the profile of IAS officers, IPS officers, and I really liked the whole career profile, as well as the fact that it's a service, and here you can contribute to nation building. So after that, I decided that I will appear for civil services. In 2016, I finally passed the exam, and then I joined. So I would say that I'm an accidental civil servant. I did not really want to be a civil servant to start with. A lot of students I know want to be civil servants, but I accidentally kind of came into this, and it has definitely been a great experience so far.
Most of the successful ones tell us that they were not satisfied in their previous job. That's why they choose civil services as their career option. So was it the case with you also same, or only the syllabus was interesting, that's why you appeared?
No, syllabus was interesting, but it was not only the fact that I was not satisfied. I was doing well in my earlier job, and but there was always something missing. There was always something that I wanted more. Maybe somewhere where I can get better professional experience, learn something completely different, completely new. And civil services is a platform, or it's a kind of a career in which, especially as an IAS officer, you can wear different hats. You don't have to you don't start your career in one thing and finish your career in that particular thing. You start your career in governance, and of course you do governance throughout your life, but you can go to different departments, you can lead different organizations, and that way you get a very rich experience, and that way you are also able to kind of grow that organization. So for me, the profile of a civil servant was very, very interesting. India is at a juncture today that it requires civil servants to be very important role of its development story, to be part of its growth story. So that was one reason again. And of course, there was a little bit of the fact that I had worked in the private sector for some time, and why not try this out and see how this works out. And thankfully, thanks to God that it worked out.
So now coming to your preparation. For many aspirants, the most difficult task is choose the optional. Some says go for the subject which you like the most. But this question arises always is in my mind, like what if one like multiple subject? How did you decide yours and what should be the correct way, like basic way to choose an optional?
Yeah, as far as optional is concerned, see, optional is something where I feel the number one prerequisite or the number one requirement is that you should definitely like that optional. You should have some interest in that subject. If you're not going to have interest in the subject, there is no way you can finish the syllabus, because the syllabus of optional is very vast. It's literally the entire undergraduate and some part of the graduation also. So you are going to study for syllabus which is almost 3, 4, 5 years long. So to finish that, you need to have a very strong interest in the subject. Now, how to find your interest in the subject? I would advise you shortlist a few subjects. There are, I think, 20 plus subjects that are there in the UPSC syllabus. So you can go through the syllabus. Try to figure out which are the subjects that you might have studied a little bit. You might have some interest in naturally. So, for example, when I was starting my preparation, I had natural interest in political science, but I didn't go for it. But I had natural interest in political science. Then what I did was I picked up the syllabus of political science. I read a few, the syllabus, I tried to understand it. I Googled a few topics, and then I read about those topics, read about the theories in political science. Then I picked up a book from the market on political science and read a few chapters. And then I was thinking, should I take political science or not? Then my undergraduate subject was economics, but I was well versed in management. So then I looked at economic syllabus also, management syllabus also. And I really liked management syllabus. It was something that I had studied to some extent in college also. It was something I had used in my job also. And it interested me. And I thought, why not try this subject? So I went for that. So I am not saying you should take management. I'm just saying that you should do your selection like this. You should pick 3, 4 subjects where your interest is. Read the syllabus, understand the syllabus, do some research, spend 10, 15 days doing research, do online research, Google, use YouTube, figure out what are the topics, study them a little bit, and whatever subject is interesting you the most, then try to take that, or you can shortlist 2 or 3 subjects. Now, the next thing is, I would say personally, from my experience, that go for a subject which has a good amount of guidance available somewhere. See, for me, management was something that I figured out myself, but now in the hindsight, I feel that I wasted a lot of time trying to master this particular option of management, because there was no coaching, no materials available. I had to do it from scratch. For a lot of students, that will become very difficult, and you might waste a lot of time like I did. So to be honest, what you should do is figure down a few subjects, and then out of those subjects, if you like something and the material is available easily, go for that subject. But if the material is not available easily, then it's a choice that you have to make. You have to decide how much time you want to give to it. So that is the best way to go for management selection. Optional selection. Now, next thing is also, if you have studied some subject in undergraduate or graduation and you really like that subject, then go for that subject. Like, I had studied economics, but I didn't go for it because I was an average economics student. I was not great at it, and I was not sure whether I will be able to kind of do justice to it. So that's why I did not take economics. But if you have, let's say, taken political science in college, or if you have taken economics or mathematics or physics, or you are an engineer who is interested in maths and is very good at math, go for maths. It will be, of course, a challenge, and you will have to study a new subject altogether, but it is definitely doable. So I think liking of a subject, number one. Number two, what kind of material is available in the market. Number three, and doing proper research and analysis through online sources, and then figuring out the subject is a perfect formula for finding the right option for yourself.
So, like you said, you took management as your option. So, what will be your advice for the aspirants who are also taking the same subject? Like, where should they source the material? Is there any book available? Like you just mentioned, there is not very much material in the market. So, how should they go for it?
Yeah, management, unfortunately, is a subject where not much is available out there. I have on my blog, I have put down the list of various sources you can take. There is a YouTube video also I made on management where you can use these sources for management, and this is from my own research and all that. So I found it. UPSC provides a very good list of syllabus topics, and according to the syllabus topics you can also find sources online and also books for those sources for management. So that way you can find the right sources for management if you want. But I would suggest management is a tough subject unless you are very, very good at statistics. If you're very good at some mathematics, like there is a component of maths that goes into management also. So if you're very good at that part, then only think of management. Otherwise, don't think.
Okay, so now like this strategy, like every time you watch an interview of any topper or any successful candidate, they'll talk about like what was their strategy for preparation. So like everyone has their own strength and weakness, so the preparation strategy will obviously be different from one another. So but what is the basic thing that one should follow while preparing for UPSC? Like one basic line, like this must be done, otherwise there is no chance for completing the syllabus or appearing for the exam. One basic line.
There are a few things, basic things that are a must when you are writing this exam. The first one is that you should be thoroughly understanding the syllabus of UPSC. It should be something that you should know it inside out. You should know it in memory. Like anytime I ask you, tell me about the GS2 syllabus topics, you should know it. That is the number one requirement of any kind of doing well in this exam in UPSC. Because without knowing syllabus inside out, I don't think you will find it very difficult to link topics. If you know the syllabus really well, then you can link topics really well. So that is the number one requirement: know the syllabus inside out. The second requirement for this exam is that you cannot waste your entire time studying only for prelims and then think that I will wait for mains exam, and once I pass prelims, I will study for mains exam. Your preparation should start from studying for mains exam, and then it should focus later on prelims exam. When the prelims exam is around 4-5 months away, then you should start focusing on only prelims exam. Before that, you should finish the entire main syllabus. You should finish all the topics at least once. Some topics you should have finished 2 or 3 times. So that is very, very important. I think syllabus is number one, and number two, the preparation should start for mains and then it should come to prelims. That is very, very important. And the last thing I would say is that in this exam, what is very important, and a lot of people miss this out, is they don't practice enough. They focus too much on studying because the syllabus is so vast. So this is how UPSC tricks you. It tricks you by thinking that I have to cover all the syllabus, and you waste all your time covering all the syllabus. But what really matters is you should also practice a lot. Whatever is given in the topics, you should practice answer writing. You should practice previous year questions. You should practice mock tests, lot of mock tests. When you practice, only then you will get the confidence and the proficiency to be able to do well in the exam. So these 3 things, if you keep in mind, always, every 3-4 days, you keep reminding that these are the 3 top things, I think you will have a good chance.
Yeah. So now you already told us about like how to go for prelims and mains preparation. Now for the interview thing, do you still remember your interview now? Like how did it go?
Yeah, my interview is a conversation. In the interview of IAS exam, UPSC, they are looking not for your knowledge per se. They're looking for your confidence, for your poise, for your personality, and they're looking for your ability to be able to be calm there and be able to answer whatever whatever. They're not going to ask you necessarily facts. Sometimes they might ask you facts also, but it doesn't matter whether you get the facts right or not. You might still get very high marks. So I will tell you my experience. The interview that I went to when I got selected, I went inside, and of course, like everyone, you wait for a while. And my interview was, I think, the second last or the last interview. So I had to wait for at least 2-3 hours at least. And when you wait for such a long time, you become tired, you become a little anxious. But I went inside, sat there, waited for my turn, did a little bit talking with the other people who were sitting there. They are your competitors, but it's okay because you are trying to focus on your own kind of performance. And eventually I was called into the board, and the atmosphere is very, very serious because they are going to judge you. Obviously, they're going to judge you. They're going to see what kind of a candidate that you are, and you go and sit on a table on a chair which is surrounded by 3-4 people. In my interview, there were 5 people total, and normally the chairman is the person who starts the interview. So the chairman started the interview with a very factual question, which I did not expect. So the factual question they asked me was, which government institutions are there for education of girls, only girls in India? So it could be schools, it could be colleges. Now, I probably knew about this, but somehow it did not strike my mind. But it was okay. After that, I told them about Kendriya Vidyalaya, the Kasturba Gandhi Vidyalaya, which I was aware about. So I told them about it. So like this, they ask you questions. Some of them, the questions were based on my background in banking. Some of the questions were based on economics. Some of the questions were based on history. So they see overall personality that you have, the overall knowledge you have. And then they also try to see how calm you are, how confident you are, how relaxed you are, is there a conversation flowing between the both? It is not always about them asking you questions and you answering. The way you answer should lead to the next question. That is the best kind of an interview. Of course, my interview was not that great. I got good marks, but I think if you want to get 200 plus marks in interview, which is only very few people get, then it has to be where the conversation is flowing. Like, sometimes I say it's like a date, where the person is asking a question and then you ask back, and then there is a conversation going on. There is questioning, there is questions coming automatically from the interviewers. So I think that is the kind of conversation you want to have. So every answer that you say, it should be natural. You should not try to hide anything. They will see through your personality, because these are senior people. They have a lot of experience. They have a lot of they have done this for a long time, so they can quickly tell what kind of a person you are. So I would say my experience was really good. My experience, obviously you were nervous and all that, but at the end of the day, they treat you very nicely. And if you go in with the attitude that I'm going to have a good conversation with the board, I'm going to be honest with the board, then you will do very well.
And so, in short, we can say, don't make it a question answer session. Try to make it conversational like that.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
One important aspect of interview is DAF. So, like many say that they have while preparation they made 400 questions out of it. What kind of question could be asked, and like I just want to know, what if like this hobby thing also, many questions are asked about a person's hobby, what or he or she has written in their filled in their DAF. So it could be anything, like maybe someone would write like they like to read books. So books is like obviously ocean. You can be asked anything if the interviewer wants it. So I just want to know, what should be the extent of preparation if only you are focusing on DAF also. What should be the extent?
Yeah, so DAF should be very specific and concise. So I will tell you how. There are 3 or 4 main sections in the DAF. Number 1 is your personal information. That is very basic. You have to just fill out your personal information like name, father's name, mother's name, your demographic information, etc. The second is your educational qualifications. So that also you fill out whatever educational qualifications and marks you have. That you fill out, right? The third one is your interest about the question about your professional experience, what professional experience you might have, and that you fill out. And the fourth one is about your hobbies or about your interests. These are the main 4 sections of DAF. They are going to ask you, now they can pick anything from any section. How? They can pick things like, if you come from an area which is famous for something, let's say you come from Agra, you belong to Agra, so they might ask you a question about history, Mughal history. Because obviously Agra is known for Taj Mahal and there are so many Mughal, it was once the capital of Mughal Empire, and there are also so many Mughal monuments there. So they might ask you maybe not about Taj Mahal, but they might ask you something about the Mughal Empire. So study at least the main things about the Mughal Empire. You don't have to study everything in detail. Just study the main things about the Mughal Empire. That is very important. Something interesting about. They might ask you even, tell me the most interesting fact about Agra. So you should know something interesting that spikes the interest of the board, and it takes the conversation forward. All right, don't give them a fact which is doesn't spark a conversation. So that is very important. So that is number 1. So this is what they can get from your personal information. from your educational experience, they can get anything from your whatever you studied. Let's say you studied physics in college, so they might ask you about latest physics discoveries in physics, Nobel Prize, who has won it, and what are the research they've done, what are the latest, in India, what kind of research we're doing in physics. So they will see that whether you have that bend of mind. From your, now the third section will be your professional experience. So if you have any professional experience, they might ask you from that. So for me, since I was in banking, they asked me a little bit about finance, questions related to finance, because you're expected to know those things. And fourthly, the last one is like your interests. Now here is where the lot of aspirants make a mistake, because in personal information in college, your educational experience, professional, you can't really, you have a limited amount of things you can put. But in interests and hobbies, a lot of students a lot of times put a lot of things, and that is a very bad thing, because if you put a lot of things, you will have to prepare all of them if you are not well prepared with them. So you will go into the interview and you will not have anything to say meaningful about anything. So in my experience, put maximum two things. Even one thing, if you are excellent in one thing, put one thing, maybe two things, and they will surely ask you question on that. So let's say for example, I had put reading books. I had specifically written reading books about Mahatma Gandhi or on Mahatma Gandhi. So I actually have read pretty much all the books that cover the life of Mahatma Gandhi, including his autobiography and other Hind Swaraj books written by other people also. So I had a genuine interest in that. I have read all the books. I could answer any question from Mahatma Gandhi's life. That's why I wrote that specifically about Mahatma Gandhi. So they could ask me questions about that. If you like reading, and if you just write reading, that is also fine. So then they will ask you, what is the latest book that you've read? So you will have to tell about the book that you've read, or they might ask you, have you read this book? So if you have read that book, then good, you can talk about that book. Or they might ask you about some author. So try to make it more concise, more specific, but be honest. Whatever interests you. I know one person who got selected, who got one of the top 40 ranks, who did not write anything in the column of hobbies and interests. He left it blank, and he still got the highest marks in interview. Why? Because his interview went really well. They did not really care. He had not written. I think someone asked him, "Why have you left it blank?" So I think his answer to that was, "Sir, that I don't have a very specific interest in anything. Last 2 years, I've been spending my time studying for UPSC, and that's what my focus has been. But I like to read international affairs." He said that. So they started asking him about international affairs. So even though it was not mentioned in his DF, he still did well. So what matters is your confidence, your ability to answer, to justify whatever you're saying. So even if you leave the space blank, you should be able to justify it, right? And obviously, if you are someone who's very interested in, let's say you are a champion in school, you did quizzing, and you are very good at quizzing or debating, and you did in college to write that. They might ask you some question about that, or they might ask you to display your art or whatever, right? So do that.
Yeah. So try to be honest while filling the form, I guess.
Yeah.
And this, so I also read somewhere, and one topper only mentioned that not having any hobby is not really a very bad thing. Many aspirants feel that if they mention too many hobbies and interests, they might sound interesting, they might look interesting, but that's not the case, I guess, with UPSC.
It's
So
nothing
anyway,
like that at all. Yeah.
so I really wanted to ask you, like, internet is filled with stories and news about what kind of bizarre questions are asked in interview. So any question you remember that was asked to you, or like these questions are even asked, what are propagated on internet, that this was asked in IAS interview. So
No, I am actually very surprised that internet can actually provide, even quoting some toppers, some really random questions about, oh, this question can be asked in the interview. I mean, that's not correct. I don't remember any bizarre questions being asked from me at all. They asked me everything from my profile, about things I had done, or about some current affairs. So please don't believe on these internet sources, random internet sources. If you are qualified for the interview, you should definitely go ahead and take a few mock interviews from some recognized institutes. They provide it for free, most of them, and rely on some actually authentic. In fact, now on YouTube, there are a lot of interviews by some institutes of toppers. They have done when they were aspirants. So those are also reliable because they ask very decent questions overall. So I think with those bizarre questions, sometimes they ask questions like, some kind of a strange puzzle they will ask, something like that. Those kind of questions don't come in UPSC interview at all. They're not looking for your that kind of a thinking. They're looking purely for your personality. That's why it's called personality test. It's not called an interview. So I would say that don't believe on such kind of sources and just go with whatever you've provided in the DAF. Just go for that, and overall just be honest. And they're going to ask you questions about your interests, your education, maybe your hobbies and things like that.
Okay, so this is like a little, I'm deviating the topic from the preparation thing. I wanted to know that many people take multiple attempts to crack the exam. Some even crack in their last attempt, while many can't. So it's good for those who made it even in their final attempt, but those who couldn't, this failure affects them in many ways. So I want to know, like, what is the correct time when one should decide to quit, so that it doesn't affect their mind, like in what attempt they should, like, what should be your psychological thing when you should feel that I can't do it or this and I should quit.
See, first of all, I will be very honest with everyone that I think people should not consider UPSC as an end. UPSC, beyond UPSC, there are a lot of great opportunities today in our country. You can pursue higher education, you can pursue a startup, you can pursue a job somewhere in some organization where your interests are there, and you can do well. You can go for higher studies in law. After studying UPSC for UPSC, there are a lot of studies. All these UPSC studies will actually help you out in your, let's say, if you want to pursue law, you want to pursue political science, you want to pursue subject, something in policy related field. Of course, not an ideal situation. If you're appearing for UPSC, you want to qualify it. But I feel that there are a lot of great, in fact, there are a lot of people who were aspirants, did not get selected, decided to move on, decided to, now they're doing amazingly well. They're heading departments in the UN, in WHO, in World Bank. There are people like that, who are doing great things. Even in India, I'm sure there are many people like that. And even in India, there are a lot of different things like Niti Aayog, etc. They're doing a lot of lateral hiring. So the future is going to be where civil servants are going to be working in teams with all these kind of people who have different backgrounds. So what I would suggest is to you is keep an open mind. That is very, very important. The number one thing. If you don't keep an open mind, if you are just thinking that, oh, if I am not able to qualify UPSC, my life is going to go nowhere. That attitude will not help you. It will make you bitter. So the attitude you need to have is that, okay, I'm going to try very hard for UPSC. I'm going to do my best. But if it doesn't work out, then I have these options that I have kept for myself, maybe higher studies or whatever. Right? So that is number one thing you need to think. The number two thing you need to think is you need to decide yourself how much time of your life you want to give to this preparation, to this exam. For me, I was at a point. So I did not join UPSC as a very young, 23, 22-year-old. A lot of people pass at a very young age. I was older. I was one of the older candidates because I had left India, I had missed my 1 year. So I had already lost my 1 or 2 years when I joined my college. Then I did then I worked for 3 years. So again, I had work experience. Then I studied for 2-3 years. So I was already 27 plus at that time when I was appearing for UPSC. So that did not mean that I was thinking about these issues. What I was thinking was, in my mind, it was there, okay, I will take 3 attempts or 4 attempts max. And after that, I will think of something else, or I will pursue some side by side. I will pursue something because I don't want to completely lose out. So I had that very clear picture in my mind. So you should also, if you are someone who's young, who's in college, who are preparing for UPSC, you should clearly have in your mind, okay, I'm going to give this much time to my preparation for UPSC. I'm going to appear for these 3 attempts, 4 attempts. And after that, if it doesn't happen, I will move on. And this is something I have in mind if I move on. But till then, I will focus on UPSC. So you have to set your own boundaries, and you don't have to fall in this, and you have to be very honest with yourself. See, in my every attempt, I actually improved my marks. So I knew I was getting closer. I messed up somewhere. and I knew I could improve there, so I improved next time. But then I again messed up somewhere else, so I improved there. So that way, in my third attempt, I was very I got very good marks everywhere, So for you also, you should be very honest with yourself. Let's say in your first attempt you are not able to make it. Let's say you don't qualify prelims. You should know if you are getting 60 marks in prelims, obviously your preparation is not as good as someone who did not go through prelims, who got 85 marks and the cutoff was 87. Someone who got 85 was still a little bit better off. He studied better than you. So I would say be very honest, know where you stand preparation wise, and accordingly plan your attempts. If you are someone who's going into attempts after attempts without sufficient preparation and you're not getting marks, that means you are just wasting your time. But if you're improving drastically and if you're getting close to the end, close to that, so I think that way you have good chances. So you have to be honest with yourself. You have to set your limits, your boundaries. It is easy to say, but it becomes difficult. But I would say you should try your best. And finally, have a clear goal. When you are having a clear goal, work on that. Don't think of other things. जब यूपीएससी की प्रिपरेशन करो उसमें ही टाइम लगाओ और कुछ मत सोचो.
Right. So, like, would you like to give a message or piece of advice for the upcoming aspirants, like as a whole for this UPSC preparation thing?
My piece of advice is only that be. It's something that you have to be determined for. It is something that you have to work hard for. On internet there are a lot of shortcuts available nowadays. Do this 5 minutes, you will know this. Usse nahi hota. UPSC is one of those exams where you have to sit down and study and do it one book by one book by one book. Newspaper by newspaper, literally material by material. You have to plow through this entire thing. Only then you will get somewhere. So my advice to all of you is, it's a long journey. It will take a toll on your mind. It will be something that will be difficult, but you all can do it, because in my batch, I've seen people from all backgrounds. I've seen people from the poorest background to the elite background. I've seen people from very good marks in their boards. They had very good marks in their board. They were always toppers, IITians, to people who were very average students, who never did, who never had any kind of academic excellence on their mark sheet. So all kinds of people get selected, all from doctors to engineers to philosophy students to English students to mathematics students. All kind of students get selected in UPSC. That is the beauty of UPSC. They're looking for a diverse pool. So I would suggest to all of you that don't judge yourself. Don't give yourself time. It's a marathon. Doesn't matter what your past is, what kind of records you have. What matters is today, if you sit down and study hard, if you understand the syllabus, if you have a clear determination in your mind, and if you forget everything, you forget social media, if you forget WhatsApp, you forget your family functions, and if you purely focus only on UPSC for the next 2 years, it is definitely possible, and you all can do it. But only few of you will get in because they work the hardest. So that is the bitter truth. But you have to do your job. That is your आपका जो कर्म होता है ना, वो आपको ही करना होता है. No one else will do it for you. So that is my very honest advice to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time for us today. It was really great speaking with you. I'm sure many will get inspired from your journey. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So this was Mr. Manuj Jindal and his journey till now. Hope you liked the video. For more such videos and interview, follow and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.